Hi, I'm Justin Wagner, Professor in Extension and Beef Cattle Specialist with Kansas State University, and I'm here for the Kansas 4-H Veterinary Science Project to discuss feeds and feedstuffs that are commonly used for animals. Now, for those that are not familiar with livestock or animals, the terms feed and feedstuff may seem a little awkward. The term feed simply refers to animal food, and a feedstuff is any edible material that may be utilized for livestock feed. Now, there are many different types of materials that can be utilized as feed for animals, and I have several different examples of those feeds here with me today. I want to start this discussion by talking about forages, as we often consider forages to be the foundation of most animal and livestock diets, especially for horses, sheep, and cattle, etc. Forages come in a variety of different types and forms. However, when I think of forages, I often think of animals on grazed pasture resources, and this is going to be where the livestock consume the forage directly from the ground. However, it's not always going to be possible for us to do that, and so we often need to harvest those forages so that they can be stored and fed to animals at a later point in time, like during the winter months. Now, one of the most common forms of harvested forages that we would see fed to livestock would be that of dry hay. And in the process of making hay, forages are essentially cut in the field, dried, and then placed into bales. Those bales make storage and handling of that forage much easier. We can then feed that forage to livestock during the winter months when we wouldn't actively have the ability to go out and graze those forage resources in the pasture. So here with me today, I have an example of some tough grass hay that I took out of a bale this morning. You can see in this sample, this hay retains much of the original characteristics of that forage. We can even see the individual plant stems in this particular sample. Now, another common form of harvested forage that we see fed to livestock that is a bit unique is going to be silage. In the process of making silage, forage is going to be chopped wet and then placed into a bag or bunker under pressure. This process essentially removes the oxygen from that forage. That forage then goes through a fermentation process, which essentially preserves that forage for an extended period of time. Now, the common types of forages that we see made into silage on many operations would be something like corn silage, but we can make silage out of many different types of forages, including alfalfa. Any of the small cereal grains like wheat or triticale can be made into silage as well. Now, another category of feedstuffs is going to be grains or concentrates, and the most common types of feed grains that are fed to livestock would be corn, grain sorghum, which is sometimes called milo, barley, oats, and even the oilseed meals like soybean meal are all commonly fed to livestock. Now, grains are sometimes called concentrates because those grains contain greater concentrations of nutrients than forages, and thus the term concentrates. Most feed grains can be fed to livestock whole, but they're often processed to improve palatability or use by the animal. So here with me today, I have an example of ground corn. And in this process, that corn has been placed through a roller mill, and that has essentially broken those corn kernels in half. Now we can take that process one step further and grind that corn and make ground corn. This product is going to be much finer and be very similar to cornmeal that you would find on most grocery store shelves. Another category of feedstuffs that I want to talk about is that of byproducts. And these are essentially feed products that are the byproducts of an industrial process. Now, two of the most common feeds that we see fed to livestock would be distillers grains and corn gluten feed. Distillers grains is a byproduct of the ethanol industry that is often added to gas. And corn gluten feed is a byproduct of the corn sweetener industry that makes industrial sweeteners that are often added to soda as well as other sweet foods that you might see in the human side. Wet distillers grains is a wet feedstuff, and it has a texture a little bit like bread dough. You can see here it's very palatable, and it also has a very unique smell that animals are going to find very appealing. The last broad category of feedstuffs that I want to talk about is supplements. And supplements are simply additional feedstuffs or specific minerals and vitamins that are added to animal diets to provide additional nutrients or correct deficiencies or imbalances in that animal's diets. Often supplements contain blends of several different minerals or vitamins, and just like the other feedstuffs, they come in different forms. Here with me today, I have a couple different forms of livestock supplements. This is a cattle mineral that has several minerals and vitamins that we would feed to cattle on pasture. I also have some liquid supplements that you can find in most local farm stores that you might see that are designed to be fed for sheep and goats and even horses as well. So as you can see, there are many different types of feedstuffs, and these feedstuffs are often blended together in animal diets or feeds, just like this commercially available feed that I have here with me today, that likely has some corn and some additional products, even some soybean meal in it, that are blended together to meet the specific requirements and needs of the animal that it's designed for. We can also mix rations on farm. An example of that would be this diet from some of our research trials here at K-State. This diet has some long stem hay, some silage, some wet distillers grains, and some ground corn in it. So if you would like more information on livestock feeds or feeding specific types of livestock, I would encourage you to check out the KSU Animal Science and Industry website or go to ksubeef.org.